Okay. We are now at 101 East Coast, and let's get on to our next section here. This is a breakout discussion, so I didn't mention this earlier, but just asking everybody to please bear with us. We're always learning new ways of doing things and conducting business, and we're doing that today. We're learning how to work with a Jamboard and how to randomly assign people to chat rooms, to breakout rooms, and have them coordinate themselves and come back with information. So in that spirit, we're all trying to build your community, and that's going to require some effort on your part, hopefully, to contribute in a useful way. And if something goes wrong, if you can just bear with us while we try and figure it out, which is my excuse to say it's going to take me a couple minutes to get the breakout rooms set up. But let's find out why we're going to these breakout rooms first. So this next question is this next hour we want to spend thinking about sighting stations, and specifically imagine you have you meet someone at a meeting. Hey, we're in person again. Isn't this great? And they find out that you have some knowledge of running a network, and they say, hey, what, we're like starting our own network. What do we need to know about when it comes to designing and siting our network? Not what sensors to use, not communication protocol, although that's a little bit of it as far as cellular coverage. What were the key things when it comes to siting our stations? What are the things to think about that maybe aren't written down anywhere? And our hope is that we can start to get this stuff written down and kind of provide information to new developers so they can get ahead of the game when it comes to developing new networks or just developing new stations. So we need a station in the upper Missouri River Basin. What do we got to think about when we're going to do this? And Nathan and Kevin are really intelligent about this, but maybe there's something they're missing that you may have already thought about within your own network. So that is the goal. What advice do you give regarding siting stations or whole networks? And we're going to spend about 25 minutes on this. We're going to break out into four. How many do we have? I'm going to say 4 breakout rooms randomly. And when you all get into your breakout rooms, I kind of need you to self-organize. If there's an executive committee member from NCSMMN or from this planning committee, hopefully they'll be able to guide you, and we'll check in to see if you need any help in that organization. But we'd like to have one person come back afterwards and speak off of the Jamboard notes that you're taking. Now let me go to a Jamboard real quick so I have an idea what it looks like if you don't. So here's a Jamboard, and some folks are already populating this. This is breakout 1. If you look up here, this is sighting issues. That's where we are. There's only sighting issues on this Jamboard. This is breakout 1. If you go up to the center middle, towards the top, there's a number of slides. So here's breakout 2, here's breakout 3, here's breakout 4. So I ask that you, once you get in to your breakout room, go to your right slide so everybody knows what they're talking about. Some people have already filled in on breakout room 1, and you can add to this. But these are just little Post-it notes. You go over to the side, you say sticky note, and you say too far to walk, and I hit save, something to think about, don't make it too far to walk. And I put that over there so that when we come back, one person is elected from each breakout room to speak to these slides and give, the key. Breakout room 1 is going to be the, what are the big ideas? Breakout room 2 is what's extra, what hasn't been mentioned yet. By the time we get to breakout 4, maybe there's nothing new. That's fine. But this is hopefully going to be useful for us. Try and stay in your breakout room number after I assign you. And let's see how this goes. Any questions for the entire group beforehand?
So Mike, I'm wondering if we want to encourage people as they're putting things on, if they want to think about the right side, okay, pick the left side, but just think about the right side as where sort of the absolute must-do categories are, some sort of sorting about priority, just so we can make some sense of it. Is that adding too much in?
You're saying the things on the right-hand side are the are required and things on the left-hand side are
Yeah, or if you
useful?
have an opinion that something is, and absolutely one of the most important things about citing is too far to walk, then move it more to the right. And that would allow a little conversation too about that between people. So
What's important, what's not important, prioritization.
not,
Okay.
not for people to get hung up on that part, but just thinking about really priority stuff on the right.
Okay. Let's try and do that. And I'm about to check, assign everyone automatically to a breakout room. So please accept going to that breakout room and we will check in on you as we go along. So thank you. So welcome back, everybody. Sorry for the mishap. We will be, we made our mistake for the day. So I have the Jamboard in front of me. My first question is, if you had trouble getting into Jamboard, did you try again? Were you able to get in? Did everybody who needed to get into a Jamboard get in? If you didn't, either post in the chat or just speak up right now. This will affect how we do our Jamboard at 4 p.m. Whether we split up into 4 different Jamboards or still keep one Jamboard with multiple pages. So understanding what the limitation is, 60-something people could be in the Jamboard at one time. I wasn't aware of the issues. Okay, there are still people who couldn't get in.
Some people said they had trouble at first, like there were too many people on a Jamboard, but then were able to get in later.
Okay.
That's what happened to me. I was initially not allowed, and then it allowed me back in.
Okay. Okay. All right. So we just want to hit like the top most important feature, if possible, or something that you really felt needed to be brought up that was not common, but you thought you were was something worthwhile spreading out. We're going to have all these encapsulated later into a list that's available to the group registrants. So in order to facilitate more discussion, we made that we gave you more time in the room. So someone from Breakout 1 could talk about maybe the most important feature of citing for them or the most unique to them. Anybody from Group 1?
I can just sort of mention some of the things we discussed. One of the things that came up was how do you update sensors and keep a continuous record? We talked about issues with vandalism. My network has never had a problem with vandalism, but some of the stations, some of the networks definitely have. Which are better places to cite it where it's more remote and less people can have access versus something that's easier for the technicians to get to, closer to a road maybe. And then, yeah, it's all those different things have been talked about.
Okay, good. I've had vandalism. I've had theft. I've had just destruction. Breakout 2. I see one in bold there, long-term access. Maybe that's
yeah. We spent a fair amount of time talking about access, and particularly when you're working with private landowners, having agreements in place, and being cognizant of potentially land changing hands. So that was the thing that kind of hit the top of our priority list, was making sure that you have valid access and long-term access that the owner understands and appreciates why you're doing what you're doing, and the preparing for the eventuality of that changing.
Let me ask anybody on this, feel free to speak up. Has anyone had an issue where a private landowner said, I'm not signing that if you bring them a contract? I've certainly had issues where it's they get scared when they see something with legal documentation. They get a little worried.
Yes, all the time.
Yeah.
They don't mind a handshake. They don't mind a handshake agreement, but signing documents is an entirely different thing. So
yeah,
we don't use documents for most of our stations. A lot of them are on university property, so there's not much need anyway. But yeah, of our stations have contracts or MOUs.
Mike, one thing that we're going to try is, as a university, we can accept donations, and we're going to see if we can accept an easement as an in-kind donation that they can write off on their taxes. That motivates them to assign.
That's an excellent idea. Actually, you just have to document yourself as a charity or nonprofit, right?
Mike, just another note before you leave that jam board. We tried to organize things that were similar in bunches. So that's why you see some of the overlap on the stickies. So
yeah, I was just trying to see them. I like the clustering idea. So, okay, Jim, group 3, a rep from group 3. Otherwise, I'll just shout out. The one that stands out to me, and this is a question that we have, especially when ag was such a big deal, irrigation, even though it's on the far left here, there's a lot of interest from different groups, especially water basin managers, to understand when irrigation is being applied, what the magnitude is, especially getting a rain bucket underneath an irrigation rig. I've instrumented irrigation, sometimes on purpose, sometimes not on purpose. So, oh, got to move that station. I didn't know the end of that center pivot came out this far. And I've also seen people didn't know where the wheel track was on a center pivot either, and they only found out after it went over their car.
Yeah, Mike, sorry, I was talking while I was on mute explaining my board, but yeah, you covered the highlights. We organized it into a couple similar to Breakout 2. They're kind of things to avoid, things to be preferred, and then our big question in the middle. But really, it came down to the siting issues were related to the customer user end goal. I think a lot of that dependence.
Okay. And Breakout 4.
Yeah, this is Nathan. We worked on, I don't know, we talked some about power considerations. Not all of these are where they can see the sun very well, either because they're very north or because they're on the north side of terrain or something like that. So we talked about wind energy. Bruce had used a little bit of that. We talked like one other alternative that we talked about briefly for long-term deployments was the possibility of school sections. Those are sections that were originally allotted to the education systems in the states. I think they're under state control, but anyways, I believe some of the states are seeking those out as regularly distributed public land that's in public land ownership. We also talked, I guess, about, I think probably our biggest idea was there is an app available for evaluating cellular latency levels and so forth, and directing you to the nearest tower and all that kind of thing. So I don't know, Stephen, can you help me out? Did I miss anything here?
I think that that covers just about everything. Just being aware of the location of the station if it's near power lines, so that it doesn't interfere with the signals from the sensors too. And that about does it.
So yeah, certainly we found certain sensors that when there was a generator with a grounding rod nearby, the sensors did not like that. And we gained about 10% moisture every time that generator went on, which is interesting. But it was a bizarre thing there. Okay, so we are again, we're trying to keep within our time frame. We do have an extra feature that I want to introduce quickly. I'm going to send out a poll. It's just to describe, we want you to describe yourself. I think you can actually choose multiple options here, but just to get an idea of who we are on this call. I'm going to post the poll now. And if you can just fill it out prior to 2 p.m. Eastern, we'll just see how things click along here among the 98 of us. We'll return back at 2 p.m. Eastern, just a few minutes, take another bio. Oh, I'm sorry, never mind. We have an hour, an hour break. We'll come back at 3 p.m. Eastern. I'm right.